Good evening. Welcome to Tuesday Night Rotor Talk Live, Season 2, Episode 27, with a very special guest, Ethan Mitchell. You're going to love Ethan, trust me. Ethan is one of my favorite drone reviewers on YouTube, and you do not want to miss this. So call your ma, call your pa, call all your friends in Arkansas. Get them online here. We're going to go over a lot tonight. We're going to talk about, Ethan has done a lot of work on the Anafi. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Mavic 2 tonight. We're going to talk about the Osmo Action because I know he has that, and I'm interested to hear some of his thoughts. Then, we're going to kind of maybe switch gears a little bit, talk about some things that may be in the works for DJI, like the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 and beta firmware testing that I'm doing with that. So I'm going to get into a little bit of housekeeping. Now, if you follow me on Facebook, or I would say if you're friends with me on Facebook, you probably know what I'm going to share right now. So let me go ahead and get that screen up here. I want to introduce our granddaughter, Eliana Grace. She was born at 4:30 a.m. this morning up in Columbus, Ohio. Mom and baby and dad are doing quite fine. Grandparents are bursting at the seams and probably won't need an airplane to fly up to Columbus, Ohio tomorrow. So, and an interesting thing was they had kept her name from us, and it was like this military secret. It was even more of a secret than when DJI is releasing a drone. I mean, they were adamant about not letting the name out. But one of the interesting things was, and what I did was, I looked up the name, and I'm going to go ahead and put this up here. The name means "my God answered." So I thought that was just an incredible choice by my daughter and son-in-law. So congratulations to them. We're looking forward to we're going to spend a few days up there. My daughter's still going to be in the hospital tomorrow and then coming out on Thursday. So we're going to get them some meals, and we're just going to hang and spend some time with them. And I'm going to be using the daylights out of my Osmo Action. I'm going to be having a lot of fun with that. So wanted to go ahead and let everybody know that. So want to welcome Mike Roach is in the house. Parks in Texas here. Vito Calaveri's here. Got Lauren Donaire here. Jet Martin's here. Peter DeMastri, Dale Wilson. Thank you all for joining tonight. Well, it's a pleasure to have, and also, I also want to pass on from everybody at Build a Drone Reviewer on behalf of the channel. We want to extend our deepest sympathies to Marcus. His mom had recently passed away, and if you can remember Marcus and his family in your thoughts and prayers at this time, I'm sure that they would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Bill.
You're welcome, Marcus. It's not an easy time, and I've been there, and it's just it's just not an easy time. That's all. That's about what I can say. And but words and thoughts and prayers from friends really do make a difference. I can tell you that. So. All right, well, let's get into it, and let's talk drones tonight. That's what we're here. Ethan is here. Ethan, welcome to the show tonight. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Bill. Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Well, it's nice to finally meet you because I know we've chatted quite a bit by email, by text, and everything, and it's finally great to get you on the show. We're going to start off with the Anafi because, well, I've flown it. Ron and Marcus have it, you have it, and you've done quite a bit of testing with it. So, I'd just like to get your thoughts, number one, on right now about the Anafi, and then, follow up with that, the resurgence of the Anafi and what your thoughts are regarding that. So go ahead and take it away.
Well, I think the Anafi is probably hands down one of my favorite travel drones that I have. I just recently went to Costa Rica, and I took the Anafi primarily because I just wanted to carry one drone. I would have loved to take in the Mavic 2, but I've had a history of traveling to Central America, and sometimes their drone laws can be iffy, if you will. And so cost-wise, I didn't want to take the risk of losing the Mavic 2. So the Anafi was a better option. What I've also noticed about the Anafi is one of the main features that I think is probably the most thing that I love the most is how quiet the Anafi is. not only are you getting great pictures with it, but it is super quiet. And if you look at some of my footage, I'm going to be posting a video of Costa Rica. If you look at some of the footage where I'm flying it over the beach, people aren't even looking at it. They don't even know it's there.
Well, I know that, just to kind of follow up on your quiet, as far as how quiet it is, I think you probably knew I had Gail Ornstein on, and the drone journalist, and she said, when she's been in some of these war-torn areas where there's actual fighting going on, she loves to use the Anafi for that purpose in particular because of how quiet it is. And the other thing that she likes is she can fly under structures, and with the tilt of that camera, she can get what's going on, underneath something as well. So I mean, it provides another whole nother dimension.
Oh yeah, the camera being able to tilt up, I use that much more when I first got it to really check out what kind of shots I could really get. And so I did a couple weddings where we flew underneath some trees, and creates a really nice effect. But to be honest, I don't use it a whole lot, but it's a nice feature to have. But one thing I wanted to touch on tonight about like how the noise level of this thing. See, Costa Rica, I checked all the drone laws down there, and you can fly almost anywhere except for a few certain areas, and I believe only one national park that said you can't fly there. But Costa Rica's got a ton of national parks, but they didn't really specify the laws there. So when I went there and we were talking to the park rangers, one of them told me, like, you can't fly drones here. It's a national park. Well, I already had it out, and he saw that it was a Parrot Anafi, and he told me, he goes, "Oh, okay, that one's okay." And I asked him, I was like, "Okay, it's not really clear." And he was like, "Oh no, that one's quiet. You can fly that one anywhere." So I was like, "Huh, wow. Very interesting."
That really, that when you find something like that, you want to take advantage of a situation. And I think you're real wise to take the Anafi, because, when you pick it up, and Marcus, I'd like to get your input as well. I mean, it feels light. It really does.
It absolutely does. And before I start on the Anafi, I want to tell Ethan, Costa Rica is pretty cool. We went there a couple of years ago, and we were in the Parque Nacional, I can't remember, but climbing the side of a volcano. My wife fell and broke her wrist, and so we spent a good part of the rest of the vacation in a hospital getting her some surgery. But that's a whole other story. The Anafi, just like you said, one of the first things you notice about this drone is how quiet it is. Everybody remarks on that the first time they fly it. The quality of the video, this little bitty camera, it's shocking how good it is. It probably isn't quite what we get from DJI, right? But it's close enough that you really got to work at it to notice it. And the other cool thing that I like is on the front of the drone here, this protects the gimbal, and then you never get any props in your shots. I love my Phantom 4, but I hate it when I get the props in the shots with that thing, and you never do with this guy. And like Ethan says, it is so light and so easy to carry and so easy to deploy. You fold it up like that, and it's just as easy to throw it out there. So, yeah, I can't say. And well, Billy Kyle just made it his second, his backup drone that he carries with him, and that's saying something, because he really is high on DJI. It displaced his Mavic Air in his backpack now, so yeah, that's saying something.
I had heard that, and I was like, because I watched that video too, and that was incredible for him, because I know how sold he is on DJI, and he just absolutely raved about it, and it was a very good video. I guess one of my questions for you, Ethan, is this: we've seen a resurgence, and the timing. I had done a video on the Anafi where I talked about the timing when it was initially released last year. It was probably the worst time in the world, because DJI was coming out with their Mavic 2 in a month. They had just announced it, and it was just, I talked to Billy Kyle, because he went to the event, and it was very unlike a DJI event. He said it was in a small conference room, or, no bit larger than a conference room, was kind of packed. They tried flying in there. It was like next to impossible. And no one was ever really given drones to test. And it was just not handled well under Parrot's, by Parrot. Well, conversely, the Mavic 2 came out and everybody said, Parrot Anafi, what's a Parrot Anafi? Kind of like got pushed to the side. But then recently we had the Anafi Thermal announced. And, for getting a drone with the capabilities, a thermal drone with the capabilities of that for, an incredibly low price compared to what you pay for the Mavic 2 Enterprise Dual, it really kind of sparked interest again. And, things picked up. My Anafi group that I run on Facebook, it started getting people, and people were interested in it again, and there's been some sales on it. What are your thoughts about all that?
Well, like you said, when it first came out, the Mavic 2s were coming out, and also the Evo was released too. And when reviewers got the Anafi in their hand, the first, there's a handful of things they were saying right off the bat. They were saying it feels cheap, because it's so light. Everybody equates weight with quality, and that's just the way people think. But it's very capable and solid drone. Another thing that I saw people complain about the most was that when it took off and like the GPS hold on it, it would tend to drift. And when I did my testing with it, I noticed that too, but I noticed it and I kind of realized what it was doing. When it took off and it didn't have a GPS lock, it would still use the optical flow camera. So it would be very stable. And then as soon as it got a GPS lock, it would start to drift a little bit. And what I think it was doing was it was turning off the optical flow camera and just relying primarily on GPS. So
it doesn't do that anymore. I tell you, it's one of the most stable drones I have ever flown.
Yeah, I think they fixed that in a recent firmware update, because I've noticed that too, but I've also noticed my flight time has been reduced by about 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
Wow. Well, so the other thing I thought for sure you were going to talk about was that little guy right there that they all complained about.
Yeah, that too. That's never been an issue for me.
Me
either. I actually prefer that. If you ever tried to get the memory card out of a Mavic Air, that is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, this is easy compared to that. That's a fact. Yeah.
I actually was going to show people what I do. Like, once you take it out like that, I just flip the thing over, and basically I do one of these, and it falls out right in my hand.
Oh, there you go.
So, and that's all I do. You can also pull, everybody knows you can also pull the data through the USB-C port on the back, but yeah, that takes a while. So.
Hey, Ethan, so that's a good point. So that is what I do now, is I just take it off of the port on the back. But one of the issues I had at first was with that 16 gigabyte card is it would fill the memory, but even on just one battery shooting in 4K. So, of course, my solution is to go get a bigger card. I started out, I think, with a 64 gig card, and it just never worked. And I finally ended up with a 32 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme. And I think the secret was I formatted it on the drone, and I finally got it to work. But that was an issue with me for a while.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people ask me about the formatting issue, and it was an issue, and I think it still kind of is an issue, because I still get every now and again somebody will write me and ask me about it. But this is what I tell everybody to do. You take one of the SanDisk 60. I like using 64 gig cards. What I do, you format it in your computer first with under the MS-DOS FAT format, not the FAT32, the regular FAT. And then you put it in the Anafi, power up the app, and then format it again with the Anafi's app. And then it should work fine.
But like you said, now that I've got this 32 gig one in there, I never take it out. I just simply unload it with the connection on the back, and then every so often I'll format it within the drone itself.
Yeah, I've also noticed, I'm not quite sure how the app and the software is reading, but if I've offloaded all the all the media into my computer, and then I delete it with the computer. For some reason, the Anafi still doesn't recognize that data is gone. So it'll show only like 10 gigs left. And so I have to format it again in the app. So that's why I think the app, and I'm not quite sure what kind of firmware they're using to read the media, but that's the only issue I have right now.
So you just touched on something, and I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. I was really impressed with the app. I mean, I've used DJI forever, and then some of the other Hubsan, etc. I'm telling you, I would almost say that Anafi app is the best one out there, because it's so easy to get to everything. You're not digging through a bunch of menus to get to what you're looking for.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the first things I noticed too. I really liked how the app had the camera controls at the bottom, so you could quickly access them with your fingers. And also the Autel apps like that too. That's one of my favorite. And the controller, I like the screen being above the sticks. That's one complaint I've always had about DJI is I don't care for the screen being under my hands, because I think Ken or Billy mentioned this in one of his videos. You always have to take one of your hands off to reach down there.
That's never thought of that.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Ethan. Especially with me, when I'm out there with a smart controller using that. I mean, it's just, I don't get me wrong. I love the sensitivity of the sticks on the smart controller. It's absolutely fantastic. And, the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, the sticks on there are super sensitive to begin with on the regular controller. But when I was beta testing it with the smart controller, it was even more sensitive, because I found myself going way over to the right or way over to the left when I wasn't expecting to do that. And I'm pinching it too. And it's just like super sensitive as far as that's concerned.
Right.
I know a number of people, and I don't want to belabor the point about the Anafi, because, we got other things we want to talk about. But, one of the large complaints that I heard, and I saw it a lot in my comments, were, well, it doesn't have obstacle avoidance. Why should I buy it? And, it's one of those things that opens up an enormous can of worms, because, for veteran pilots like the three of us, and if Ron was here, the four of us, it's a convenience. It's something we really don't need. It's kind of nice, especially, where I'm finding that I need something like that is if I'm backing the drone up. Okay. If I'm going forward, okay, and I'm watching and I'm paying attention to everything that's going on, that lack of obstacle avoidance isn't going to be an issue for me. But if I'm going backwards or doing a backwards kind of shot, that's where, you can get into trouble. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think I really don't use obstacle avoidance a whole lot, if ever, on my Mavic, just because I'd like to get really close to a lot of things, and it's always I find myself always clicking it off if it's already on. But the fact that the Anafi didn't have it to begin with, it was not really an issue for me, because I rarely use it. I think I got a bad taste in my mouth about obstacle avoidance, because actually the Spark was one of my first drones, and it has optical avoidance, and I've crashed it a number of times going forward with the obstacle avoidance on. So I was kind of like, it doesn't work anyway. I'm not going to rely on it. So that's my thoughts about it.
Yeah, well, I got a mixed bag of reactions from there, and here, my whole thing was, when I was talking to the people in the comments, was, it's like, okay, for people who have had experience like us, people who are, I'll call them veteran pilots for lack of a better term, or experienced pilots. Okay. We know where we are. We're very aware of our surroundings, and it's easy. And especially one of the things that I absolutely love about the Anafi is how extremely responsive it is to input commands from the controller. I mean, it responds instantly, it literally almost stops on a dime kind of a thing. So yeah, I completely understand why Parrot left it off there, and also too, if you look at it, it also helps in terms of weight. You don't have these extra sensors on there. Right. Battery life, it also helps with things like that. So, I thought it was great, but other people said, well, I want the comfort of an obstacle avoidance. I'm going to look probably at the Mavic Air. And I said, well, understand, this is a drone that I think you should consider. But if you're more comfortable with it than without, so be it. What are your thoughts, Marcus, on that?
Yeah, can I pile on a little bit, Bill?
Absolutely, please do.
But what you said is exactly so often obstacle avoidance bugs me more than not, right? You're trying to get close to something that starts beeping. So I have one of those, the A and B buttons on the bottom of the controller. I have one of them to just one push turns off all of those sensors. Now, having said that, one of the things that I really want to do, and I haven't tried yet with my Mavic 2, is I want to have everything on, turn on APAS, and I want to put it in follow me, and I want to walk through the woods with it and see if that drone will follow me and go around things and all that. I've never tried that. I think that'd be cool to try.
Well, I did try something like that with the Spark early on. We went out for a walk, and what was real interesting was we made a turn. We were fine until we made a turn, and we weren't going fast. Both my wife and I were out. We're taking the dog out for a walk, but it lost us, in the turn. And I was like, the thing was you had to be within a certain kind of altitude, no more than 20 feet above you and all this. And it was just, but try it. I'd be interested to find out how.
But now the Spark doesn't have APAS on it, does it?
No, it doesn't. No, yeah. It was just a follow me kind of a thing that we were trying. But yeah, that APAS, yeah. And I can tell you this. I did a test on the Mavic Air with APAS, and what I did was I set out my garbage cans out there, and it worked. It was so cool. I had it flying dead on towards one of my garbage cans. It's plastic, so I knew if something would happen, it wouldn't be catastrophic. It went up and avoided it. It completely went to the side one time, and another time it chose to go up and over it, which was interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So tracking, though, you just touched on tracking with the Spark, how it lost you. The Anafi, I was doing a tracking test with it, and I was at the park where often I test things, and there's a picnic shelter with a roof on it. So I purposely, to see if I could lose the Anafi, walked underneath that picnic shelter where it couldn't see me. As soon as I walked out the other side, I saw the drone turning and looking for me, and it acquired me again and took right off. That was really impressive to me.
That's cool. That's really cool. I know Ethan's done a lot with the Mavic 2, and I know, he was interested, when I did my waypoints, and he's done a lot of Lychee with that. So, I'd really kind of like to talk a little bit about that, Ethan. You've had a great experience, and I really like your videos on that. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
How did you find that it compares to what DJI actually, with the Go 4 app offers as far as like the waypoints are concerned?
Well, the waypoints that comes with DJI's, especially when they updated it, the waypoint, it works really nice, and I really like the interface of it much better than Lychee. Lychee's can be a little blocky. It works, but it's a little blocky. My biggest complaint about Lychee is the camera. Accessing the camera settings is terrible. They really need to fix that. But the waypoints in Lychee has so many options. It is a little bit smoother than what the DJI app is. And the biggest thing that I like the most about Lychee is that you can plan it offline, and your waypoints and your mission is saved offline. So for whatever reason, that's not the case with the DJI app. If you have a waypoint mission saved in the app, if you ever have to uninstall the app and reinstall it for whatever reason, or change your device, that mission is not going to be there anymore. So if you're doing like a season time lapse for a project or something like that, you're going to run into issues, and you really should be using Lychee. With Lychee, you can take any device with any drone, download that mission that you've already planned, and go fly it. So it's in that regards, it is much better. But I like the interface better on the Go 4 app.
I know, one of the things, and while I was doing my series of testing with waypoints, that was the number one thing that I heard, Ethan, was the offline mission planning, being able to do that. And that's huge, you know, because I found it to be, you know, well, you know, it's pretty doggone nasty in the sun out here in Florida, and can get time consuming when you're standing out there and you know, you're using battery, you're using resources, you know, you're using a remote controller battery, you're using the aircraft battery, and you're sitting there and you're planning, you know, when, you know, you should be up in the air flying. You know, having that offline capability is something that would be stellar. And, you know, I emailed, you know, I tweeted DJI support about that, and they said that's something they'll consider for a future release, but haven't really heard anything about that. Marcus, what do you think about, have you done the waypoints at all with the Mavic 2 Zoom? You're on mute, Marcus.
Sorry about that.
No.
That microphone when I'm not. Anyway, you know why. So
yeah.
I'm sorry, guys, but yeah. So I'm probably the wrong person to ask about that. I've used it a little bit, but not as much as I'd like to mess around with it. Bill, I know I've watched your videos, and you got into some good detail with it. Ethan, I need to watch your videos. I haven't watched them yet, but I need to do that. But I love that it has that functionality, and I've used with the FIMI X8 SE. I've used the offline planning and stuff, and it's pretty cool to have that feature.
I see in the chat, Jet asked, how does the Anafi's flight pan compare to the DJI Waypoints? And me personally, I think the Anafi's flight pan is probably the best one out there, aside from Lykus. Lykus comes really, really close, and Lykus does have a few more features. But as far as ease of use, how the drone actually flies it, I think the Anafi's flight plan is just the best out there.
That's very, very interesting. You know, it's a, you know, and I have to echo what you're saying. You know, what Marcus is saying, what you're saying, Ethan, and what Billy said as far as the app was concerned. You know, that's one thing. I spent some time. Rick Smith was in town, and I flew his Anafi, and you know, the app was just stellar to use. It was easy. It was intuitive. You didn't have to go to menu after menu after menu to find something. I mean, it was right there, very easy. Just you know, out in front of you. So I can't say enough nice things about that. Let's go ahead and welcome a few more folks in here tonight. Scottish Drone View is here. Grumpy Vlogger is here. Welcome, Lloyd. Lon Dennard is here. Of course, Jet Martin's here. Let's see who else. Ron Levesque is in tonight. Art Code Drone Solutions. Welcome, Art. How are you this evening? Yeah, I think that's about it. So, Rob Matters, welcome. Thanks for coming in. So you know, I had a lot of fun doing that Waypoints, and you know, I found out a lot about the drones, and it's really interesting, you know, when you get that to work. But you know, I think the frustrating thing for me, again, you know, and I think I'll echo the sentiments of a lot of people, is that offline planning is really huge, because when you're having to go outside and it, you know, it could be hot or whatever, you know, it's a pain in the butt. You know, you want to have this ready. You know, you could sit down at night, get this all planned out, and in the morning, you know, first thing when you're out the door, you're ready to fly. But instead, you got to spend, you know, 10 minutes or so getting everything set up and, you know, finding exactly what you want to do and everything, when you can do that the night before and it's ready to go. So, I mean, you know, that's a, you know, that's a huge point. And, you know, and I think that's something I think people, I wish DJI would consider that, because Waypoints can be a very useful feature. I mean, it was like, it impressed the daylights out of my wife. I said, come here and watch this, you know, and I hit the start and it just took over, and she's like, what are you doing? And I said, I program Waypoints, watch it. And she says, it's going up and down. It's I could see him. I said, yeah, it's all programmed. It's doing it by itself. And it really amazed her. And she's been around drones like I've been around drones. So, you know, she thought that function and those features were really cool. You know, kind of switching gears a little bit, you know, I know, Ethan, you told me you have an Osmo Action. And, you know, I was glad to hear that you did, because I'm real anxious, because, you know, I've heard a lot of great things about the Hero 7 from Marcus and from Ron, who both have those. And I wanted to and Marcus has the Osmo Pocket as well too. Wanted to get your thoughts and feedback as to what you think about the Osmo Action.
I love it. I actually took it with me to Costa Rica. Actually, I have a Hero 7 also, and I took both of them with me to Costa Rica. And it wasn't really for a comparison because I actually already did a kind of like a comparison on my own testing just to see what the main differences were. And they actually are really, really close. One thing that not a lot of people have said is that the Osmo Action is putting out 100 megabits per second in 4K, where the GoPro 7 doesn't. It's at like 75, 80-ish, around those areas. So image quality wise, the Osmo is just a smidge better. It is cropping more on the sensor than the 7 is, but that's also why we get the stabilization's a little bit better.
You know, one of the things that I found almost right away was I decided to take it for what I considered like an ultimate test, where I could test just like a whole number of things. And we took it to Sam's Club on a Saturday. And you know, if you've been inside Sam's Club on a Saturday, you know how loud it is, you know how crazy it is, and it's just, you know, it's just a very busy, bustling, hustling, and kind of environment. And one of the things that amazed me right off the bat was the sound for the person that's holding it. Okay. Now, you know, my wife, you could hear her, but it wasn't as clear. You could hear me crystal clear. And, you know, her people were on the PA, other people were talking, you know, carts were moving in and out, you know, but you could hear me clearly on that. And that was something I think that really impressed me. And then when we left, I put the Osmo Action right on top of the cart and went over those, you know, for lack of a better term, pebbles, those embedded pebbles that are in the concrete to kind of like help out if it rains so you don't slip and fall. You know, it's very bumpy. And right. And it was just buttery smooth. And the same thing in the truck. I mounted it on the dash in the truck, and we have these huge humps in our development. I mean, they are just ginormous, and you have to hit it at 15 or 20 or it's going to be a real kind of bounce. It was just smooth as silk when I went through there. I mean, that rock steady just really impressed me. And just taking it out and doing some other vlogging. I had my two sons were down recently with my older son's girlfriend, and we went out to eat and just taking it through there and just, you know, you could still hear me crystal clear. I mean, it was just so good. The quality is the one thing that I think I've been real impressed with. And then I've also used it outside, like when I'm filming, you know, doing my drone tests, I'll have it set up. I got a selfie stick and I ended up just mounting it on the selfie stick and pointing it at the drone. And I've got some great shots from that. So, you know, it's also been great. I've been using it for some B-roll as well too. You know, and I really like the thing that I really like now. Ron and Marcus could probably chime in on this. The menu system on that was fantastic. I know from what I hear, the menu system on the Hero 7, you know, there's a lot to it. Am I right about that?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the Hero 7. You know, anyway, go ahead, Ethan.
Yeah, the menu system on the GoPro Hero 7 is a little, you know, when you think you're going into something, sometimes it doesn't go right away. You know, so the menu system is definitely way better on the Osmo. And one thing I have noticed right off the bat, and using them both a lot, is that anybody that's ever owned GoPros, and GoPro 7 is probably my 5th GoPro I've had all the way back since the Hero 2. Every GoPro I've ever owned has been glitchy. Every now and again, the camera will just lock up, and the only way you can fix it is to pull the battery out. And it does that, and even the GoPro 7 suffers from that too. That's one thing I've noticed about the Hero 7. It hasn't locked up on me. It hasn't glitched on me once yet. Not saying it won't happen, but it hasn't done it yet. And that's one thing to me that's, you know, really important. The front-facing screen is awesome. I found myself using that all the time down in Costa Rica. So I really love that feature.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing. You know, I was showing this to Valerie, and it was funny. I did a vlog the first time we were in the truck and using it, and she's like looking at me. She says, "What's that?" I said, "That's us." She said, "What do you mean that's us?" I said, "There's a front screen." Right. She said, "It has a front screen." I said, "Yeah, it has a front screen on it." So she's just like, and what's really funny is she's taking a video with her camera. She's looking at it. I said, "What are you doing?" She says, "I'm taking a video." I said, "You're taking a video of the camera taking a video of us." Okay. It was just absolutely hilarious. It's just one of those moments that belonged in a vlog, and I thought it was pretty cool. So all in all, you know, and here's the other thing was the price on it, because had had there not been the tariff going on, it would have been $299 instead of $349. But I tell you what, Ethan, for me and Marcus, I would have paid I paid the $349, and I didn't have a problem paying for that. I mean, it was just, it was just one of those things that I didn't even hesitate with.
Right. The price on it was great. I didn't mind paying that either, being that I had paid $400 for the 7 Black just last year. So, but the main reason I actually wasn't going to get the Osmo until I found out that it was going to come with DJI, and that's probably my biggest complaint that I have about GoPros in general, is that I think they do a great job and the quality is really, really nice out of the GoPro, but they have a very unique color profile, the GoPro color. And even if you use their flat profile, it's not really flat. It's still, when you color grade their flat profile, it still looks kind of GoPro-ish. That's the best way I can explain it. So if you're filming your whole video with it, it looks fine. But if you try to mix any camera, like you're using Canon or you're using a drone shot, trying to match that GoPro footage to the drone is really, really difficult. So when I found out it had DJI, it was a no-brainer for me to pick it up. I actually really hope that in a future firmware update, they add D-Log, which I'm not sure if they'll do, but I'm really hoping they do, because I use D-Log and HLG quite a bit.
Well, here, I'm going to put Marcus on the spot here. Do you think an Osmo Action may ever be in your future at some point, Marcus?
Yeah, it could be. And let me say this, Bill. The Pocket, for me, I like it, but I find that I grab that Hero 7 more often, simply because it is so much easier to use. And then I don't feel that it's as fragile, right? I always feel like the Pocket, I kind of have to be careful with it, etc. I don't feel like that with the Hero 7. So the Osmo Action absolutely would be something that I'm interested in. And in fact, while you guys were talking about it, I was thinking, I've got a little bit of credit out there with DJI. I ought to just get one.
Push the button. Push the on. Ethan, Marcus has been known to while we're having shows online to order things. So just to kind of let you know that.
I already told the wife that if after I color grade this footage from Costa Rica, if it comes out the way I'm hoping it does, I'll probably be selling both the GoPros and getting another Osmo.
Well, I recently, and I just ordered it, and I haven't had time to do a review. I got the battery charger and extra batteries for the Osmo Action. And what was real interesting was they had a manual on what the charging lights mean. It can charge 3 batteries, and it'll charge 2 at once. And there's a blinking yellow, there's a rapid blinking yellow, there's a solid yellow, there's a green on it. I'm like, okay, we're talking about a battery charger here, guys. Let's just keep it real simple, okay? It charges 2 at once. When those 2 are done, it'll charge the 3rd one. I mean, it's really kind of that simple. But they overcomplicated the thing. I think one of the things that really kind of frustrates me, and it's no matter what kind of product DJI has released, whether it's a drone or a camera accessory, that type of thing, the accessories that go with it seem to lag behind. They're not ready and they're not available. What are your thoughts about that, Marcus? And then Ethan, I'd like to hear both your thoughts about that.
That was one of my biggest frustrations with the Pocket. I wanted the wireless connector and that base, and I really wanted that thumb wheel so that I could get the fine adjustment on the gimbal. Geez, it was months before that was available. And I finally got all that stuff. And then, of course, shortly thereafter, got the Hero 7, and I don't use it as much. But it was frustrating, to your point.
Yeah.
And that is something. What we know about DJI is, they might make mistakes like that sometimes. I mean, just like we were talking about when they introduced the first Mavic, they weren't quite ready to produce everything. They learn from their mistakes, and I guarantee you, as they move forward, I bet you next big thing they come out with, all the accessories will be available right on time. Ethan?
Yeah, it is very, very frustrating. And, me personally, I don't think we should be seeing that from a company like DJI. Not only do you see it with accessories, you see it in features with their apps as well. you would expect something like that from like a smaller company like Autel or Parrot or, even GoPro, that these accessories would lag behind or features would lag behind in the app. So therefore, my personal feeling on what DJI is doing, I think they're doing it as like a strategic marketing strategy to generate long-term cash flow. That's just my personal opinion. And I see Parks and Tech said, we're still waiting on the underwater case for the Pocket. I actually don't think you'll see that now because they have the Action out. So,
hey, Ethan, you just touched on something that when they first brought out the Mavic 2, remember everybody freaked out because it didn't have precision landing. And I remember even I was like going, well, God, why did they put all those sensors on the bottom of that thing? Right. And it won't precision land. And it was almost like an afterthought. And once they got it, it was good. But to your point, it should have had it right off the bat.
Right. I mean, the original Mavic Pro had it,
Yeah.
So, and I think the Mavic Air had it too.
Air had it, yeah.
So, that's what I think. It was just I think they did on purpose, personally. I think it's a marketing technique that they use now these days just to keep people buying things over, keep cash flow coming in.
And it keeps people talking too, and it keeps their product in conversation.
Ethan, you really hit the nail on the head, and you too, Marcus. I mean, it's just, it's this constant flow of, we're hearing DJI today, we'll hear DJI tomorrow about this, we'll hear DJI in another day about this. It's that constant action that's going on, and it's good for them, and they're kind of like the big kid on the block, and they're the ones that are basically in charge, because it's like the old when EF Hutton talks, people listen commercials, and it's the same thing with DJI because they're so big, and I kind of wish they would get a little more customer centric and say, what, we're going to put out a drone, we're going to have all the accessories available at launch. Okay, we're going to put out this camera. We're going to have filters. We're going to have cases. We're going to have extra batteries. We're going to cables. We're going to have all this available at launch. For example, and I hate to kind of switch technologies here a little bit. Smartphones. Okay, when a smartphone comes out, let's say when a new iPhone comes out, or when a new Samsung Galaxy smartphone comes out, there are cases ad nauseum coming out. And the manufacturers have their own options that are available. Cables, wireless headphones, Bluetooth this, Bluetooth that. I mean, it's incredible the amount of money that they make off the accessories off of smartphones. So, and you think DJI would kind of like say, well, you know what? We should have these available. It should be out there. We should be geared. We should be ready and take care of our customers. But they rely on the fact, like, we're number one. We're Goliath. Nobody can kind of really touch us. So you're going to come back to us, kind of a thing.
Oh yeah, that's and I think that's also why they're holding out on the Spark 2 right now, just because they don't really have to.
You're right. I don't know if you saw Sean Oz put a video out, and I just watched it, and I kind of had to laugh. I like Sean. Sean, if you're watching, you have a great channel. But what he put out was these renderings of a Spark 2, and these renderings are probably over a year plus old that somebody else had put out, and he had heard that this was probably what the Spark 2 is going to look like. And he said he's not interested in a Spark 2, but you see these things out there, and it's like, okay, it just caused me to chuckle just a little bit, because I had seen that before such a long time ago, and those are the kind of things, it was just a drawing on a board kind of a thing. But switching gears up here a little bit. All right. As I made you aware during our pre-show, I'm beta testing the next firmware update for the DJI Smart Controller. I feel very fortunate to get in there, because a lot of people don't get the opportunity to do that with DJI. So DJI, thank you for that opportunity. And one of the things that this new firmware, when it gets released to the public, is it will support the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, which I had asked DJI from the get-go, will it support it? And they said yes. I said, but stay tuned. It's we need to develop it. Well, it's out. And there's been some buzz lately, and I've heard some things. I did a video on my initial tests with the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, and it's looking pretty good as far as like the Phantom 4 is concerned. There's a couple other things that I found not related to the Phantom 4 that I've reported to DJI. But I guess my question for both of you is this, is do you think that we'll see a resurgence in the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 that DJI has said, you know what, they stopped it and they held it on purpose? There wasn't a part shortage. They just said, you know, we're going to stop this in its tracks and we're going to wait until we get the smart controller going. And then, you know what, we're going to go ahead and bundle the smart controller with a Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 instead of the smart controller that comes out there with that. First Marcus, and then Ethan. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think it'd be great if they did, but it's funny you mentioned that. While you were talking, Bill, I was on the DJI store website looking to see if any of the Phantoms were available as refurbs or anything, and they're still, all of them are out of stock. They don't have any Phantoms available at all, and that's me looking just now. I do agree with you. There is pent-up demand, particularly for the V2.0. And I don't, could it be a parts issue? We don't really know. But I do know that if they introduce that again, I think there is demand for it. And there are people that would buy it. Particularly, I think Part 107 professionals would probably be more apt to buy it than a hobbyist. Just coincidentally, while I was looking out there, same thing. There's no Sparks available. You cannot buy a Spark from DJI. The Mavic Air, the only thing you can get from DJI now, at least in the refurbs, is just the Air itself. You can't get it in the one with extra batteries. I'm losing my mind here, guys.
Fly More.
Yeah, Fly More package.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. So it's just kind of interesting. What the heck is DJI up to? I agree with what Ethan says. They pretty much can do whatever they want because they know that there's a ton of us out there that'll melt our credit cards the first thing they throw up on their website. Anyway, yeah, Ethan.
I just saw a comment from Steve Carpenter. He said all Phantoms are being used for DJI's RTK series, and that's exactly what I think is going on. I don't think you're going to see a Phantom 4 Pro V2 or even the next model of a Phantom series for prosumers. I think they're going to be geared towards the mapping guys, and just because I think in the consumer or the prosumer market, I think they've sold more Mavics and Mavic2s ever, more than they've sold any Phantom at all. That's just what I've read. That's real interesting, Ethan, and DJI doesn't put out sales figures, and I kind of wish they did. But the only kind of, I first of all, I went, Sally French, the drone girl who I've had on before, she'd reported that Kitty Hawk had reported its registered users, and as far as the drones that they fly, at the time, and it was the original Mavic Pro, the classic Mavic Pro, and then it was followed by the Phantom. But it's interesting today, because I have several groups on Facebook, and by far and away my number one group right now, and it passed up my Spark group a long time ago. It's over 3,000 members in my Mavic 2 group. Right. It's just incredible the growth, and see, and I think you nailed it on the head, Ethan, as far as people want, they want the portability, they want the Mavic 2 basically gives you just about everything that the Phantom 4 Pro can give you, almost, not quite, but almost everything, but in a portable package. And I think that's something I think really resonates with people. Like, I'm going up to Ohio. I don't have the right bag to take my Mavic 2 up, or my Phantom for that matter. I'd love to be able to do that, because this is more of a spend time with family kind of a trip than being able to go out and do some things. But without all that being said, I still possibly see that there might be a little bit of a resurgence. And the reason I think there might be is, when I bought mine, I got mine off of eBay, and I've been out, and I'll go out to eBay to see if maybe there could be a killer deal out there. I know that, for example, there were Walmarts that had Phantom 4 Pro V2.0s in stock,
and they were selling them at ridiculous prices, like $999. It's a $1,500 drone. The demand for them right now is through the roof. You could probably get, like, if I were to try to sell mine today, because I take excellent care of my drones, I could easily get, and I got it brand new, but I could probably easily get 2,000 for it right now, used, as far as the market is concerned. So, there may be some demand, but I agree with you what you're saying. They're using up the ones for the RTKs because that's hitting home. It's kind of a mixed bag because we really don't get all the details and the figures from DJI as far as that's concerned.
I think the next thing that we see in that prosumer, basically where would fit the niche for the Phantom series is probably going to be a folding type of, probably like another Mavic style that with the next camera, with the next sensor size on it, just because we can already see that the Mavic 2 platform can carry more weight. So
yeah.
It could.
No, I agree. I think what we'll see is, in what they've talked about, I've heard the word hybrid come out there. I'm not sure if I really like the word hybrid, but the Inspire is just not it's not I won't call it it's not really consumer friendly. It's meant more for commercial and videography type use. Whereas the Mavic 2 is more prosumer, ending more towards the consumer type of things. They were talking about a hybrid between that would have the features and the portability of the Mavic 2, but also have a camera, some type of a modular camera system on it, like you see on the Inspire. I think something like that would be just sell absolutely through the roof.
Oh yeah.
That would hit. You'd hit your professionals, and you'd also hit your consumers who could probably get the lower end type cameras with stuff like that.
Right. I actually would almost think we might see, maybe this is probably a stretch, but we already know that the processor that's in the Mavic 2 can actually do more than what it's doing. And I don't know if it's due to all the other optical sensors that it's got to handle, and why we're not seeing a little bit better image quality from the Mavic 2. But I really don't think everybody, when it first came out, everybody was talking about the heat on the sensor. I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's processor, or they're just holding it back for the next model.
Well, when all the talk about it, all my friends, I've got the Mavic 2 Zoom, and almost everybody I know has the Mavic 2 Pro. And boy, I've heard so much about the Mavic 2 Pro. I keep thinking, gosh, I probably should sell that Zoom and grab one of those. But if we think about what are they going to do next, I bet you that we'll see a Pro version of the camera on the Mavic 2, whether they still call it the Mavic 2A or who knows what they call it at that point. But yeah, I would melt my credit card pretty quickly on that one.
Yeah. Now, Ari, Remote Pilots Australia said a senior DJI figure down here has been quoted as saying people who are missing the Phantom 4 Pro should keep an eye out later in the year, but not before October. What that means, I have no idea. So, and I've also heard rumblings about the Spark 2 as far as, Australia is concerned. If you haven't followed Ari, Remote Pilots Australia, you need to follow him. And also, by the way, you definitely want to follow Ethan's channel. I'm telling you, if you haven't watched, definitely subscribe to his channel. He puts out some absolutely stellar videos out there. You can learn an awful lot from what he's put out there. I mean, he does some great comparisons, fantastic videos. So you definitely want to check him out. Marcus's channel, there'll be links in the description for all these. Marcus's channel, Idaho Quadcopters, Ron's channel, I have a link in there, and also ZinoNation. Ron and Marcus are on every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. They do a fantastic show as far as, they give us updates on the Zino, but they also talk about the FIMI. Marcus has the X8, the Abominable A3 is what I'll probably call that. In that space. So that's definitely a great show. You definitely want to tune into them as far as that's concerned. Wanted to kind of get some closing thoughts here, kind of wrap things up. I'll start with you this time, Ethan. People are saying, as far as the drone industry is concerned, and I've heard this, and I know a number of people have said that. I know Billy said this, and I think Ken said this as well, and I've heard some other people say this. Have we reached a point of saturation as far as the technology is concerned? Are we at a plateau where we're just it's not the technology. It's going to be software that we're looking towards. As far as like hardware and cameras and flight time and all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
That's a great comment. That's a great question. There's always room for improvement. I think you're going to see the most advances in battery technology, ESCs in the motors that get us longer flight time, more efficient motors, to save on battery. Batteries are probably going to be the biggest hurdle and the biggest thing that we're going to see next. Lighter batteries with more capacity, longer flight time. But I think we're also going to see the apps, the software just get better and better. One thing I remember when Ken and Billy were doing a show a while back, they were talking about the optical sensors that are on the Mavic 2. So if you've ever done an optical sensor calibration on the Mavic 2, you can, on the screen, you can see in black and white what these little sensors are seeing. And he made the comment, I would love to have the app, other screens where I can see what's below me, what's behind me. And I think that would be great, almost like a backup camera. I think if they can incorporate that into like a smart controller or something like that, I think that would be fantastic.
That would fly off the shelves, Ethan.
Right. Yeah, because it's already, you can already see what those cameras are seeing. It's just not displayed in the app. So if you could see that, I think that would be a game changer.
I think so too. Marcus, what are your thoughts?
Well, our friend Ron Brown, that's one of the things that he always says. He feels like drones have reached a kind of a plateau like smartphones. My iPhone 10, it's not that far off of the iPhone 7 that it replaced. It is better, but it's not dramatically better like we used to see. And that's what Ron contends with drones. I'm kind of with Ethan. I just know that DJI has surprised us every time, and there are going to be features that we don't even know we need. And I'm fascinated by what you just said, Ethan, about those other cameras. You touched on something that I didn't even think of, and I'll bet you DJI is. So so we'll see what they've got something up their sleeve, because again, they want us to melt our credit cards.
It's real interesting. I posed this question to Sally French. I absolutely love Sally. She's fantastic. I felt very fortunate to get her on the show. She has such a busy schedule. And I asked the same question of her, and she said, you know what, Bill, DJI never fails to surprise me with what they come up with, okay? And one of the things that I said early on when I started the channel, and I'll stick to this, until this channel, forever on this channel, is DJI does not waste technology. The technology that you see in the Osmo Pocket, the technology you see in the Osmo Action, that's going to carry through to a drone. The technology you see in Robomaster S1 will carry through to a drone, okay? What type of form? I don't know, but they don't do that. That's one of the things DJI is just, they use every bit of technology to their advantage, and they incorporate it into the other features, and for example, Ethan talking about, the downward sensors and the ability to maybe have a camera looking behind you. I mean, good Lord, think about that. Okay. And being able to flip screens on your smart controller, or, whatever, tablet or whatever. That would be insane. That would be off the charts to be able to do something like that, and to be able to get that image in that view. So, I think there are a lot of things. One of the things that I know, I talked when I had Rick Smith on the show, talked about batteries, and, he's an electrical engineer. And, one of the things he said, lithium ion, polymer technology, it's pretty kind of cut and dry, basically the rule of thumb with that is, if it's bigger, we can get you a better battery, but it's a size constraint, and it's the chemical reaction constraint that they're limited to with something like that. So, you're looking at things like Ethan mentioned, like better ESCs, quieter, more efficient props, those kind of things are going to make a difference in terms of getting more flight time. Also, weight reduction is going to be something I think we'll see a lot more of too. Because a lot of people are talking about getting under the 250 gram rule. And so, it's like, I kind of think, to be honest with you, it's like I see people saying, we want to get under the 250 gram rule, but then, I want to have front and back sensors on it. I want to have 25-minute runtime.
Right.
I want, down the line. And it's just like, folks, when you start to add to that list, it's not going to happen. I said, that's why, for example, you probably will never see OcuSync 2.0 on like a, Mavic Air or a Spark type platform, simply because, the weight involved, not only the weight, but what from Rick Smith told me, the physical size that's needed to get OcuSync 2.0 on there, it needs a bigger platform to do that. So hence, it's on the Mavic 2 and it's on the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. So, I'm going to kind of wrap things up. We'll start with Ethan. Just some of your closing thoughts on things, what you got, any projects you got coming up, and then we'll go from there. So take it away, Ethan, and then Marcus.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me on. First off, I really appreciate it. Had a great time. But I am working on a video that should be up probably Thursday or Friday, or maybe even the weekend. I'm kind of busy with work this week, but I'm actually doing a video comparing the Mavic 2 Pro and the Anafi with their active track or their auto track. And there's been a lot of comments about how the Anafi will not track an object that you're not on. Like the feature that it has is follow me, and that really means just follow you, because it's actually tracking the GPS in your phone. So I did a video showing that you can track another subject without being on it. And in the video, I'll show you how I do that. And I'm actually comparing the two and how well they do. They both did very, very well. There is one key difference that the Anafi does much better than the Mavic, and that is you can fly in sport mode while you're tracking. So moving around, getting those really dynamic, crazy shots is much easier to do with the Anafi. But if you want to get those really, really smooth cinematic shots, then, obviously the Mavic 2 is going to be doing better at that. But other than that, I've got another video coming up on tips to how to launch and land your drone from a boat. So,
oh, that'll be good, because I know a lot of people do that. And I know Ken was real thrilled because I guess Evo had added support for being able to do that now too. So he was pretty stoked about that. Marcus, your closing thoughts and anything you got coming down the pipeline.
Gotcha. So I want to touch on a couple things that you said. So the 250 gram rule, what people need to understand about that, just because a drone is under 250 grams doesn't mean that they do not have to comply to all FAA regulations with the drone. It just means they don't have to put a sticker on it.
Right.
That's about the only difference it is. You still got to comply with all the same regulations. So I don't know why people get so praised about that. And then the other thing, in talking about your channel, Ethan, here's what I'm going to tell everybody. If you want to see a guy that knows drones, knows what makes them tick, can show you down to the details, Ethan's channel is awesome for that. So, when you see hacks like me, I show off a drone and I stumble through. Yeah, no, the real guys are Ethan. So I just want to make that clear out there. But then other than that, coming up on my channel, it's hilarious that you were talking about tracking, Ethan. So one of the things I've been doing with the Fimi X8 is it just doesn't track worth a darn. And I've been getting a bunch of grief from people in the comments that, you're doing it wrong. You're standing in the shade, all these other things. So what I want to do is do a comparison, just like what you're talking about. I want to get my Mavic 2 out and say, okay, this is what tracking really is, and do it and acknowledge that, hey, it costs 3 times as much. But then also the Anafi. But what'll track the heck out of you is the little Hubsan Zino, man. That thing you can't lose it, and that thing is you can buy it now for $230. So Fimi has no excuses. But so that's one of the projects that I'm going to be working on pretty quick. And Anyway, Bill, thank you so much for having me on tonight.
Well, also too, I want to mention our other co-host Ron Brown, who was with family tonight. Ron, family always comes first. Just want to let you know that. Ron has some great things coming up, I am sure. He lives now right on the Jersey Shore, so he's able to get out often. It's summertime down there. He's done some great tests. He started the Spark Challenge, which was fantastic. So he's very top notch about that. Some things I got coming up. Number one, I want to let you know, when I get back from our trip up to Ohio, I have a package I'm going to be mailing to Steve Carpenter. Steve, if you're still in the audience, you will be getting something in the mail, and it's golden. Okay. I think Marcus knows what I'm talking about. Okay. The other thing, I have a couple of videos that I've actually done already. They're sitting out there. I worked my tail off this weekend because I won't be here this week. I won't have really have access to a PC. I did one on the sound issues that I've had with the screen recording for the beta firmware testing. So we're going to talk about that. Also did another one on, looking at the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 and see kind of where do we go from here, kind of a thing. So I think you'll enjoy both of those. And I also did a fun one. I did a third one. It's sitting out there. I had my son and my two sons and my older son's girlfriend down, and they love seeing the quick shots. Like I did a droney for them, I did an asteroid for them, and they got to see that. And then they caught a beautiful sunset, and they looked through the viewfinder, and they were just like speechless with what they saw. So I got another one coming up on that. So we got a lot in the pipeline. Coming up on future shows, Kelly Shores will be on sometime shortly. I have to confirm a date with Kelly, but I'm really looking forward to getting Kelly on here again. Every time I get him on, it's like when I have Rick on or Billy on. It's just like that hour goes so quickly and it goes by, and it's like, Kelly, can you stay another 3? Because everybody's asking questions in the chat and everything. And it's a reminder, Spin Up 2019 is October 19th in Texas. It's in Austin. I'm going to be making my travel plan shortly. We had to plan for this trip to Ohio. That was number one, but then we're going to be planning for Spin Up. So we're looking forward to that. So definitely you want to check into things like that. There's other things that are coming up. I do have some real exciting things that are in the works that I will let you know of very shortly. I got some pretty awesome things coming up. Also going a little old school, trying some things that I did before with some graphics and things. Just trying to want to keep things simple and not over graphic things, because I know a lot of times we have a tendency as content creators, we want to throw all the razzle and the dazzle at you. Oh yes, I do have a huge surprise. It's coming at the end of this week, and I'm going to be testing it. I'm not gonna spring this on you. Marcus knows what it is, and also Ethan too. So it's going to be fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to that. I think you guys are going to be great. Also too, if you guys get a chance to watch my show that I did last week with Scott Parazinski. Scott was just absolutely fantastic. Scott, if you're out there watching, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for spending some time with us. We want to have you on again. You were extremely well received. This was a great show. As always, I want you to make sure you check out Idaho Quadcopters, Marcus's channel, Ron's channel, links in the description. Also ZinoNation. You got to subscribe to Ethan's channel. You don't know what you're missing until you see some of his videos. Okay. I'm telling you this. Ethan just does a fantastic job on his channel. You definitely want to subscribe, before the night's out. Bump up his subscriber count. I'm sure he would enjoy that. But he puts out great stuff. So, and also too, for me, thank you so much, everybody, for watching tonight. Really appreciate everybody on here, and thank you for all the congratulations regarding our granddaughter. We are looking forward to the next few days being up in Ohio and spending time with family up there and meeting a brand new member of the family. It doesn't get any better than that, folks. It really doesn't. And if I could, I have 5 years till I retire. I'd like to retire right now. Okay, that's how excited I am. So thank you again, and remember, it's a great day to fly. Take care, everybody.
Have a good night, guys.